All righty, we are live. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. So I have hosted quite a few webinars in the past, and it's always the most interesting to see where our attendees are located. So while we await a few attendees to join our session this afternoon, go ahead and put in the chat where you're joining from. We'll get started in about 1 to 2 minutes. So while we wait, let's hear and see where everyone is from. Okay, I see Texas. Texas is a common place I've seen so far. More Texas, yes. Alrighty. So while you're still inputting where you're from and where you're joining, we'll go ahead and get started. Right. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are. Welcome to today's webinar hosted by the Accreditation Council for Medical Affairs. Again, thanks for joining. For those of you that are joining us for the first time, welcome in. And for those of you who have joined us previously, welcome back. My name is Kiana Dixson. I am a pharmacist and the Associate Director of Educational Programs here at the ACMA. This afternoon, we will be hosting a Q&A, question and answer session on board certification in medical affairs. As you can see so far, I am joined today by two fellow pharmacists and leaders in the medical affairs space. I'm really delighted to introduce Dr. Afsha Alam, Medical Affairs Manager at Gilead, and Dr. Suzanne Soliman, CMO at ACMA and the founder of the Pharmacist Moms Group. So just to give you a bit more of a background on our speakers before we get started, you may have already seen Suzanne, as she has been featured in multiple news outlets. She presents nationally on pharmacy, parenting, and women issues, and she has over 100 publications. She's worked as a clinical pharmacist, an MSL within medical affairs, and a national field team educator before shifting and moving into education with multiple pharmacy programs and now at the ACMA with interest of assessment and professional development. Our next speaker, Afsha Alam, she is currently the manager of medical affairs at Gilead Sciences. Also, she trained as a pharmacist as well, and she also works as a YouTuber and influencer to help foreign graduate pharmacy students pass licensure exams in the US through her YouTube channel and her online courses. So, as you can see, we have an exciting webinar ahead. This webinar came about actually from you all. We have had a lot of requests come in for us to have a question and answer Q&A about navigating board certification and building your skill sets for medical affairs. And now we're here and able to answer your questions. So how we will navigate this webinar this afternoon is to first discuss medical affairs. We will discuss board certification. And I will then bring back our panelists and we will be able to discover their experiences and their insights on professional development for this area. Now, as I mentioned, this is a Q&A. So this is the time to ask your questions. As we discuss our educational programs, please feel free to submit your questions in the chat. We will address all of those questions after the presentation portion of the webinar, okay? Alrighty. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to remove our panelists for now as we go through the slides so you have more room and flexibility to see. Alrighty. Now, let's first dive into what medical affairs is. Okay, we're then going to shift gears and talk about who ACMA is in case you are not aware, and discuss how ACMA fits into this field through education and training. Medical affairs is the specialty within pharma that protects the interests of patients by regulating the activities of pharmaceutical companies, right? They work to lead the adoption of medicines through the understanding of the needs of all of those stakeholders that are involved in the patient's journey. And we'll discuss that next as well. Medical affairs also plays a huge part in communication of the design implementation of, and the value of medicines through scientific evidence, right? That's obtained by both clinical and real world studies that's aimed at the needs of each of the actors of the health ecosystem. And this is a very interesting diagram that you see on your screen. In this overlapping, in those overlapping parts of this diagram, we see what can happen. We can often happen in medical affairs, right? When there is a sense that we are providing science only for the sake of science in and of itself, we end up with strong scientific projects, right? And these projects may lack a return on investment. Medical operations in this case may lack strong business acumen, okay? Science for business is the sense that medical affairs is part of commercial and should be supporting that team. While yes, medical affairs should be supporting commercial, it should be made clear that they are not part of the commercial team. Right? We're in that balance between science and commercial. Okay. But science for value, what you see in the center, this means that medical affairs strategy should be based on all of these factors. Right? It should be based on scientific or clinical rationale and align it with commercial objectives and aimed at generating value for external stakeholders, right? So we need to discuss and involve all parts here on the screen. Now, we at the Accreditation Council for Medical Affairs, or ACMA, we have a mission, and that's to establish a higher level of global independent standards of excellence across the board throughout the pharmaceutical environment, right? Whether it be pharmaceutical, biotech, diagnostics, or medical device industries, right? And we do that in two ways. We provide accredited certification and training programs, and we also offer AI-enabled digital solutions to teams. Now, I mentioned accredited training programs, right? What does that mean and why does that matter? So, a recent report from McKinsey indicated that 81% of physicians are not happy with the interactions that they have within pharma. Okay. A major reason for this was that HCPs questioned pharma's credibility, felt that oftentimes representatives of that portion of the industry were biased, and didn't see them as true peers. And this is why accreditation is so critical. It builds trust, it builds credibility among all of those stakeholders. Right. The difference within the ACMA is that it's a fully accredited organization through IACET. That's the International Accreditors for Continuing Education and Training. And so in order for us to offer these accredited training programs, we have to stick to a rigorous vetted process that's been put in place. And so with the content that we offer, you as an individual or you as an organization, you're able to meet the highest standards of excellence. You're able to gain a peace of mind, right? Which all translates to better compliance. The ACMA was founded in 2015, almost a decade ago, and our mission is to set standards and a benchmark of excellence. Okay, we have deep experience both in the US and globally. Currently, we have over 25,000 users in over 80 countries. And within those users, we work with over 200 biopharmaceutical companies, right? Where we help them across medical affairs, market access, and also commercial. We have both deep breadth and depth when it comes to its understanding of the life sciences industry, right? Especially within medical affairs, where we have over 250,000 professionals in our database, right? This gives us unparalleled insights into the needs of the medical affairs function, which we then use to tailor our training programs. While our headquarters are in the New York, New Jersey metro area, right where you saw Dr. Soliman is from, where she's located, we have a global footprint with users in over 80 countries, like I mentioned, right? So with our strong US and ex-US experience, we find ourselves helping supporting multiple teams, both US and global medical affairs functions. We have been featured in the mainstream media. As a matter of fact, we are the first in the history of the industry to take medical affairs prime time. Right. So as you can see here, we've been featured in many major news and TV outlets. While we're known globally and on television as well, we also make strides in making an impact on the decisions that would later impact medical affairs. Right. In 2021, the ACMA had the honor of being invited by the U.S. Congress Health Subcommittee, led by Congressman Brett Guthrie from Kentucky. The committee, they inquired about the importance of professional standards in the industry, right, especially for medical affairs professionals. And this invitation really speaks to the respect that the ACMA garners within all circles, again, including the regulatory and government sectors. Again, it's all about excellence in medical affairs. Okay. So with the ACMA, you get reassurance because we provide the necessary accredited training for board certification in this area. And we do that with the BCMAS program. Now we're going to take a view at what that program looks like a little bit before we get into our questions. Now, BCMAS, this is the Board Certified Medical Affairs Specialist Program. And this program is for anyone in the medical affairs space, from medical information or medical communication specialists to medical science liaisons up to medical directors. All right. What is different about BCMAS is that we offer it in a format that's flexible to all types of professionals. Okay. Everything is online. So individuals are able to navigate throughout the program at your own pace. You see the phone here on the screen. This is another way of how we increase flexibility. It's also available via a mobile phone or even a tablet. Right? We know that some medical affairs members, specifically field-based ones, are on the go. So you're able to work offline as well through our app on those devices. You can access the app offline with no Wi-Fi. The program will still track your progress so that when you do reconnect to Wi-Fi or you get off the plane, you can pick back up where you left off. Okay. Now, let's also talk about the curriculum, what you see here on your screen. There are 20 modules, all built on pedagogical learning techniques included in the program. And they cover key areas to succeed in medical affairs, which we'll address next, all of the topics that are covered. Now, in addition to these modules, we also include resources such as a glossary, case studies, knowledge checks, right? So you can fully digest the content before sitting and taking the final assessment. That final assessment is what certifies you as a board certified medical affairs specialist. Okay. Now, the BCMAS program focuses on these key areas here for you to excel in medical affairs. And we're going to discuss each. Okay. First, being technical competencies. Technical competencies is understanding how to design, interpret, and analyze clinical trials. This is very important in medical affairs. So we discuss HEOR models and evidence-based medicine within our content. The program will also cover areas like biostatistics and clinical development here in these modules. Life sciences understanding is understanding all areas of the life sciences, right? Like we mentioned before, this is pharma. This is the diagnostics industry, also medical devices, right? You really get a broadly trained professional with in-depth experience with the program here. With BCMAS, this isn't just your standard compliance training, right? It really comes at it from a medical affairs perspective and discussing the regulatory and compliance surrounding this function. The case studies provided are excellent here for this portion. And finally, soft skills and business acumen, right? This is very important as well in order to succeed in medical affairs. We cover important areas like how to effectively discuss and talk to different stakeholders like KOLs, key opinion leaders, your medical affairs colleagues, how to discuss internally with marketing, right? We discuss how to present PowerPoint presentations as well, how to build effective plans, and how to manage your territory. Now, how do we get that content? The ACMA, we use a robust content development process. So first, we convene a focus group of leaders, right, in a particular field, in this example, medical affairs. Then we conduct a job task analysis. We then meet with subject matter experts where they focus on specific key areas that they are experts in, right? Whether that's communications, medical information, or pharmacovigilance. And one of the things that we do that is unique is we use data that we collect, right, from almost 200 pharmaceutical companies we work with to determine what matters to companies. We want to look at key performance indicators, metrics that are used for success, and characteristics that are important for an effective professional to succeed and move forward in medical affairs. Right. So when you work with us and you certify with BCMAS, you know that you're operating at the highest standards, at the highest level within the industry. Now, because this is a board certification, there is a renewal process. BCMAS certification is renewed every 5 years to keep up with the evolving landscape and to also maintain your credentials, right? We offer two pathways for maintaining the BCMAS program. You can either repass that final board exam or complete 20 hours of CE credits. Okay. The ACMA, we've done a lot of research on our programs. We first surveyed both internal and external stakeholders to better understand the value that they see in accreditation and certification of medical affairs professionals like MSLs. And as we can see here, the top point, 87% of key opinion leaders indicated that board certified MSLs that they discuss with are seen as more credible, more trustworthy, and more competent than their non certified counterparts. Additionally, when we surveyed compliance professionals, between 70 and 73% indicated that accrediting and certifying medical affairs professionals would help to minimize risk, help a medical affairs level of compliance within their team. Here's Dr. Chelsea Ayudi. She's the Associate Director of Product Training at Takeda. And here she discusses her experience working with ACMA, how positive and easy it was. She also discusses how much BCMAS was instrumental in developing her professional career in medical affairs. So we really pride ourselves on testimonials and the lives that we have helped in medical affairs. So as a result, we are proud to say that the ACMA has engaged over 200 major pharmaceutical companies worldwide, again, where we operate in about 80 countries. Okay. Now, let's bring our panelists back and ask them a few questions on their experience and their training, their background with training for medical affairs. So I'll bring back Afsha and Suzanne. All right. And as the questions come in from the audience that have attended the webinar, I did want to ask from you, your perspectives, especially you, Afsha. I'm interested to know, why did you choose to go through the BCMAS program?
There are a couple of reasons why, but I think I would go for the most obvious ones. As you mentioned in the slides that were shown before I started to talk, the only way to become standardized and the only way to let your colleagues and peers of yours know that you have that credibility of knowledge and you know what you're talking about when you are in the field with the same people who have the same backgrounds as you. I think that is through the BCMS certification, because the course itself is packed with so much value and so much information that only the ones who have gone through it, taken the exam, would know what it means to have the certification title and the BCMS title next to your name. I think it serves as a major source of providing credibility and maybe like raising your standards of getting a better job or becoming better than your peers at work.
Right. I agree. That almost answers our first question that came into the chat that I saw. So I'm going to spotlight this here. As a physician, I'm concerned that board certification does not seem standardized. There appears to be several ways one can achieve this distinction. It lessens the credibility as far as they are concerned. Now, you mentioned, Asha, that to you, board certification enhances your credibility.
Yeah,
right?
that's what I was reading through these questions and I was wondering, I would like to counter question this one. And Raymond, my friend, I would like to ask you, like, in what terms you think it lessens the credibility? I mean, I would really love to know because as far as I've seen it, having gone through the program, having seen my friends and other followers gone through the program, and then having the ability to connect with industry experts because of this program, as far as I've seen it, I think it just boosts your credibility. So I would love to know how you think it lessens the credibility to understand your question better. In
Mhm.
that way, I would be able to like clear out any other misconceptions that you might have in this space. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to just add that in general, more education will only enhance
Exactly.
your application or your credibility. So, by completing a program, it will help to strengthen your candidacy when applying for a program because you're showing that you have minimal competency, you have a certain baseline level of knowledge that others might not have. So, I think that is extremely important. I think the other thing that's important is to recognize that 90% of professionals who take BCMAS do land a role within 3 months just by having it. So it really, many positions prefer BCMAS. There are some that actually call for it as a requirement to a job application. So I think that is important. That's a big differentiator. So I think that, that's the biggest one. I see that, this is really the gold standard in medical affairs is the board certified medical affairs program. So the BCMAS program. Um,
I
so
would
that's
like
what
to jump in over here, Suzanne. And I think this fellow is saying, I'm also, he says, there appears to be several ways one can achieve this distinction. And I see his point because with information available on our fingertips, and especially with the AI and everything going on today, I do agree that information is available on your fingertips and it is easy to be well informed and well knowledgeable among your other peers. But to achieve this distinction, and since Kiana just mentioned the BCMS program is accredited by IACET, which is the same organization that accredits major healthcare systems and hospitals. I don't I don't see a way we can achieve that distinction just by googling something or reading a couple of papers and stuff like that. We won't have that credibility, the way
Right.
you do by BCMS. So yeah.
That's a good point. So go to the next question. The next question is actually what I think it may should have been written. What about PhDs? It also addresses another question. Is it available for someone who does not have medical affairs experience but interested in a job in that area? So I can answer this question here when it comes to the eligibility requirements for BCMAS. So Sanjay mentioned PhD. So the PhD backgrounds is an eligibility requirement for BCMAS. So a doctorate level terminal degree. So PharmD, MD, but also a PhD, as long as your PhD background is in the life sciences industry. Now, if you do not have a terminal degree, if you have 2 years of life sciences experience, you're also eligible for the BCMAS program. All right, let's see.
the next question. It does ask about any kind of assistance. So if someone is earning their PhD, and there is assistance. Actually, we do offer scholarships. So you would send in an email, and you would apply for a scholarship if a need-based scholarship if you do need one. So that one was an easy question.
So as more questions come in, I do have another question to you both. I think that goes from that spins off some of these questions. How can interested professionals, like the attendees here on this call, how can they know if board certification in medical affairs is right for them?
So I think that you have to understand the area that you're looking into. So medical affairs, there's a growing need for medical affairs professionals and medical affairs certifications. Just to give you a little bit about the history, back in the year 2000, there were about 50,000 positions available. And today, currently in the year 2023, there are about 500,000 positions available. So there are definitely a lot more opportunities in the medical affairs space than there ever were previously in the past. And so determining what area you're interested in, what function, having a training that's well backed within the medical affairs space in general is definitely critical and in making the decision to move forward in that area.
Good point. I have another question. If someone is dedicated and serious, serious about completing the BCMAS, how much time would it take to complete? I'm currently applying for different MSL roles that seem promising. So for the BCMAS program, we mentioned that there are 20 e-modules. There are 40 hours of content. Right? When you enroll into the program online, you will have 6 months of access to complete those 40 hours of content. Now, how much time that takes for you to complete is completely dependent upon you, how you work through those 40 hours. But we see on average, it takes about 2 to 3 months to complete. I have a question. What about MPharm? This is depending on where you're located. So those that are overseas, sometimes an MPharm is equivalent to a doctorate of pharmacy, but again, that depends on your location. Here, I would probably go to your years of experience, your work experience here for eligibility. Now, if you have more questions, more specific questions on if you're eligible, we also have a live chat on our website. They are actual ACMA team members, and they can assess your background and your educational background in order to assess your eligibility also.
Something else that comes up, and I'm not sure if we have the question yet because I can't see all the questions coming through, but it does come up, is regarding salary. And I know many times people they're shy to ask salary questions, but just last month in Pharmacy Times, there was a study that looked into certifications, and it showed how having BCMAS actually increased pay for those individuals who were board certified in medical affairs, that they actually earned more money than their peers who did not have a certification. So if you are interested in that area, I think that is important. And it also demonstrated that they were more likely to have a higher role and move on quicker. So I would encourage you, it was just published last month, to look into that recent study as well.
I have a question. Also, can we get direct job without any TOEFL? Now, Afsha, I know you help foreign grads navigating this medical affairs space, so I'll open this up to you.
Yes, for sure you can. So TOEFL is something that is you don't need TOEFL for a job, and once you're done with BCMS, with the support and the mentorship that they have for the people enrolled in the course, and they have also partnered with top-notch recruiting firms. You don't need a TOEFL for sure to get a job.
I have someone that's a PharmD that's not from North American universities. Am I eligible to get the BCMAS certificate? So to answer your first question, yes. If your school is, if you have that PharmD, you are eligible. So you are able to go through the BCMAS program. Now, for your second question, are you also able to apply for MSL positions in the US or Canada? Yes. So the BCMAS program, we have multiple regional variations of the BCMAS program, depending on where you are located or which regional area you would like to work in the future, right? Regulatory agencies are different depending on where you're located. Right, the FDA governs the US and the US only, while in the UK, for example, they are governed by MHRA or the EMA in Europe. Right. So we have multiple specific and tailored regional variations of the BCMAS program for you. Now, whether you're interested in the US or Canada, we have those programs available also for you to enroll in. I have a question here. Searching and applying for MSL roles in areas that you express interest in. Do you apply to as many MSL roles and hope to get your foot in the pharma industry and build MSL experience and grow from there? I'll hop in here for this question. So, when I speak to those that are interested in entering into the medical affairs space, what I recommend the most is matching the skills of a role that you're interested in and building skill sets that support those or supplement those skill sets, right? The BCMAS program does a really good job of solidifying and covering majority of those areas, right? When it comes to business acumen skills, presentation skills, building your knowledge base on clinical trial analysis, right? So BCMS, for what I would recommend, is the first step. Outside of that, you also have to build up your experience or your skill set.
Yeah, they go together. I think when looking for a new job or looking to work in industry, I always tell everyone there's two steps. The first is creating a resume or a CV that looks feasible so that you will get an interview. Without that, you'll never get an interview. What BCMAS does for you is it makes your resume, it makes you look more credible so that you do get the job interview and you are asked to come in. Then the next step is interviewing and being able to interview and land the job. Applying for different roles is great. I think that offers, but I think you also want to niche your area. What area are you an expert in? Are you an expert in cardiology? Are you an expert in oncology, immunology? Really, you need to understand what that area is and how to gain experiences that will show that you're an expert in that area. You can't just expect to, even with a degree, I mean, you could be a PharmD or you could be a physician and you're still not an expert in that specific area. You need more training. And then we need continuing training. Even as a pharmacist, I just did all my 30 hours of CE to maintain my license. So it continues forever. So I think, that's critical. And I just saw a question coming in about therapeutic areas that are hot right now. And I think that goes hand in hand. And Afsha could probably talk about that as well. But again, you want to look at the therapeutic area that is important to you, that maybe you have experience in, you did research in as a PhD or as a PharmD student, and then you want to take it in and grow with that area, or potentially look into a new area that you might have experience in.
Exactly, Suzanne. And I would like to jump in here what BCMS does in relation with this hot therapeutic areas is it's going to just make you earn more and more information so that when you get to the point of interview and everything, you know what you're talking about. And the interviewee also knows what you're talking about just because of this application. So yeah, that's why I think BCMS is very important.
So I see another question. Are there ongoing fees to maintain certification? So this is where we were discussing the maintenance of the BCMAS cert. So there is a renewal process every 5 years, right? You have to renew by either repassing the final exam or completing 20 hours of CE credits. And that's how you maintain your BCMAS certification. Let's see.
So going back to like the hot therapeutic areas, I think it changes all the time. So years ago, it might have been cardiology. Oncology is still pretty hot, or the liver areas. But right now, immunology is really big since biosimilars have come out. So there's a lot going on in that space as well. So I think that, it continues to change. So even just asking for like nowadays, it could be this month or the next couple months, and then it keeps changing. And that's the best part about science, in my opinion, is that we're constantly learning and it's a journey. I mean, the main thing is that, getting BCMAS shows that you're dedicated to being the best medical affairs professional that you could be. You have a broad skill set that you gain from it, and you really just expand your career opportunities. That's the key points with it.
So the question of the fees for the reaccreditation. So that's recertification for BCMS for the 20 hours. Yes, there is a fee associated with the recertification of your license. It's $4.99, no matter which pathway you decide to choose. Here's a great question. going back to therapeutic areas, what are best pathways to build experiences in certain therapeutic areas? We actually discussed this also in a previous webinar. One is webinars, right? There are a lot of webinars available, conferences that are online if you're unable to travel, on specific therapeutic areas or disease states, right? So building up your knowledge in order to build up your expertise in this area, right? Reading out and discussing and reviewing clinical trials that affect or impact that therapeutic area as well.
So I think it's important to recognize that nowadays in most markets, you need to stay competitive. So even after you land a job, it doesn't mean you're going to keep your job. So many medical affairs individuals know this, that even if you were to look on LinkedIn and look at how long someone lasts within a company or how long they're at a company, it changes. And so staying competitive is part of your medical affairs, medical science liaison journey. It continues. And everyone's looking for highly trained, highly valued individuals. And that's important. The other thing to recognize with the BCMAS program is that you do earn continuing education credits. So if you are a physician or a pharmacist, you will earn continuing education 5 credits for completing the program, which I know, at least for me right now, because I just did my 30 hours, that 5 hours is a big deal. So I think that's important if you are a licensed professional to recognize that as well.
So I see one more question before we close out here from Omar. So Omar is a recent grad from McGill University. Congratulations. Interested in the MSL career pathway. He's very early in the process, but wanted to see if there were any accreditations or licenses similar to BCMAS that he could complete at this stage. And the answer is yes. We have multiple certifications on our website. So you can attend our website. We also have the MAC program. It is not a board certification similar to the sense of BCMAS, but you will receive an accredited certificate of completion. This is a great introductory level course into medical affairs, into the MSL role. So you can go ahead and begin taking that initiative right into entering this space and building up your knowledge base.
Yeah, the MAC program is an excellent program. We actually work with colleges across the country in the United States, and they implement it for their pharmacy students, their medical students, or PhD students while they're in professional school. So it is a great program if you're interested in it. I actually have posted on my social media a few times about the MAC program because it is a great program to kind of get your feet wet before going full dive into the BCMAS program.
Yes. So what's the link to that? So our website is Medical Affairs Specialists. You can find all of our information there. I see a comment about the presentation after the webinar session. So this is recorded live, including the presentation slides, and all of that will be available to you at the conclusion of the webinar. Yes, there it is.
Perfect. Yeah, it's great you put that in there. I thought
I'll highlight that.
Wow.
So I'll highlight this as we head out of this webinar, as we don't have any new questions that are coming in. This was a really great question and answer session that we had. Like I mentioned before, this has been something that has come up in the past that has been requested for us to do for those that are interested in BCMAS, those interested in entering the medical affairs space. So with that, if this is a hit to you all, let us know and we may continue this on in the future. Again, we do have a live chat. If you have more questions, feel free to enter our website at medicalaffairsspecialist.org, and you are able to ask your questions there, or you can come in contact with one of us as well.
You could find me. Yeah, you could message me directly. You can find me on my Instagram at Dr. Suzanne Soliman, or you can message me on my LinkedIn if you're looking to connect, or if your question wasn't answered, feel free to find me on LinkedIn or Instagram, and I will be happy to chat with you more if you have any other questions.
Yeah, same here, Suzanne. I have a couple of videos made on BCMS as well on my channel on YouTube. That's Afsha Alam. And I have answered a couple of questions over there too. But if there's anything that you guys would like to ask, you can always drop a comment over there, or just DM me on Instagram. It's mednerdygram.
Thank you, Afsha. Thank you, Suzanne. I'm seeing a lot of thank you. I think this was very insightful. Thank you for joining us this afternoon. Everyone, have a great rest of your day and rest of your week.
Thank you.
Thank you.